Can you imagine flying in an airplane with a piano bar entertaining you while traveling through the clouds? In the past, airplane dinners were like proper feast, unlike the modern age where it's all about peanuts and microwave dinners. In this video, we will explore air travel features that evoke memories of the golden age of flying. In the earlier days of aviation, travelers had the opportunity to send postcards from the sky. Airlines provided special postcards for passengers during their flights, which were then filled out by the passengers. These cards were typically used for writing messages or sharing personal travel experiences. Once the airplane landed, these postcards were mailed, carrying greetings from one part of the world to another. Can you imagine this? Before smartphones were invented, these postcards were a popular way of staying in touch. Would you use these postcards to send greetings to your family from one part of the world to another? However, currently, these postcards are considered very rare collectible items by enthusiasts due to their history and charm. Were flight engineers once as crucial to operating an airplane as pilots? Let me explain the answer to you. A flight engineer, also referred to as an air engineer, played a vital part in the aircraft crew, being responsible for managing and operating the complicated systems of the plane. They technically did not fly the plane. Instead, they had to sit at a special panel to monitor and control things like the engine and other critical flight systems. These engineers worked alongside the pilots, especially during takeoffs, flights, and landings, to ensure a smooth experience. However, due to evolving technology, computers have replaced these engineers. The last major U.S. airline that used flight engineers was Northwest Airlines, which retired all its planes with engineering stations in 2009. So yes, flight engineers were once as crucial to operating an airplane as pilots. What's your opinion? Have you ever imagined strolling down an aircraft like famous stars and celebrities? In the early 90s, all you had to do was step off the plane to have a similar experience. Before the invention of jet bridges, passengers always used air stairs or mobile stairways to disembark. This way, they experienced the tarmac directly, feeling a cold breeze through their hair and getting an up-close view of an airport as they walked down. Air stairs were a common feature on various aircraft, including the Boeing 727 and McDonnell Douglas DC-9, as they proved more practical at smaller airports, eliminating the need for advanced infrastructure. Air stairs also played a vital role in 1971 when hijacker D.B. Cooper attempted his daring escape by parachuting from the back of a Boeing 727. Can you recall this situation? Let me know in the comments. Who wouldn't enjoy sitting on a plane and indulging in a fancy dinner reminiscent of dining at a 5-star restaurant? In earlier times, especially in the 1930s when flying was still a luxury, indulging in fancy dinners aboard airplanes was often reserved for passengers in first class and sometimes business class. These classes offered a higher level of comfort and service. It was an experience typically not available to passengers in economy class due to the cost and the general setup of airlines. These meals were multi-course feasts, carefully prepared by skilled and trained chefs. Passengers could expect to be treated to dishes like turkey, beef, and other luxurious options. Chefs served these dishes on fine china with real silverware, turning the meal into a truly opulent experience. Olympic Airways even kept gold-plated cutlery for their first-class cabins. Before the 1970s, if you wanted to stretch your legs on a plane, you didn't have to endure discomfort. Back in the olden days, airplane cabins used to be less crowded, offering more legroom and wider seats. This additional space allowed passengers to relax and enjoy their journey without experiencing cramps. Older airlines prioritized making their passengers feel comfortable rather than packing the plane with passengers, creating a cramped environment like modern planes. The gap between two seats in the past was estimated to be 36 to 40 inches. However, as of today, the seat pitch is at a maximum of 28 inches. Who wouldn't want to recline in their seats and unwind while traveling above the clouds? Back in the day, it was very unusual to see someone in pajamas on a plane. How would it have been to travel during that time and not encounter anyone in pajamas? Can you recall it, or let yourself be surprised? Throughout the 1930s up until the 1980s, both passengers and crew members dressed in fine suits and attire, making the plane resemble more of a fashion show in the sky than just a passenger flight. It was common to see men in suits and ties, and women elegantly dressed in graceful dresses and hats, treating air travel as a prestigious occasion. Flying at that time wasn't as accessible or readily available as it is today, and was much more expensive as well. This meant that people with affluent backgrounds were more commonly seen traveling by air. Flight attendants or air hostesses wore eye-catching stylish uniforms designed by top fashion brands like Chanel. This stylish approach enhanced the environment of air travel and made it a glamorous and memorable experience. Have you ever witnessed such a moment while traveling by air? Would you like to return to that time? Did you know that airplanes once featured spiral staircases? When the first commercial planes took flight into the sky, architecture soared alongside them. Heavily inspired by the aesthetics of aviation, the design of airports and airplane interiors flourished. Take the Boeing 747, for instance. Introduced in 1970, it was not just a design masterpiece. It comprised 2 stories connected by a spiral staircase, and its cabins had the capacity to hold over 500 passengers. The influence of aviation aesthetics wasn't limited to the skies. It also inspired many ground-level building designs, such as the TWA terminal at JFK Airport, resembling a bird in flight. Imagine boarding a plane being as easy as hopping on a bus from your nearest bus stop. How would air travel in the past have felt with its relaxed and carefree atmosphere, free from today's stringent security measures? Are you curious about that time, or does it bring a sense of nostalgia? Let's relive that era. Security was much more relaxed back then. Unlike today, passengers didn't have to worry about arriving hours before their flights, taking off their shoes, or concerning themselves with the amount of liquid they were carrying. During that time, companies didn't even use metal detectors, considering it an invasion of passengers' privacy. The approach changed as airplane hijackings became more common. Between May 1961 and the end of 1972, there were 159 reported cases of airplane hijackings in U.S. airspace. The New Orleans International Airport became the first airport to implement metal detectors in 1970, marking a significant step towards the security measures we are familiar with today. Since the effects of smoking tobacco were not well known before the 2000s, in-flight smoking was the norm. Many flights even had designated areas just for smoking, where passengers could light up cigars or cigarettes. When was the last time you saw a passenger smoking on an airplane? As unbelievable as it may seem, people used to smoke right in their seats. However, after health concerns related to smoking were revealed by doctors, the last US flight that allowed smoking took off in 2000, marking the end of an era where smoking in the sky was part of the journey. Piano lounges were a part of airplanes in the 1970s. Some first-class sections of airplanes were more like flying luxury lounges, consisting of large cocktail bars and pianos. What if, in the midst of your journey, you could find yourself in a space where you could relax, socialize, enjoy a drink, and have a comfortable experience above the clouds? These lounges provided exactly that. The pianos on these airplanes were often electric Wurlitzer organs rather than basic pianos. This setup created a party-like environment in the sky where travelers could forget about the stress of life, unwind, and even sing along to tunes played by the onboard pianist. American Airlines was famously known to have an economy-class piano bar at the rear of their 747-100 cabin, making the joy of live music accessible to more passengers. Have you also had the opportunity to fly in that era? Let me know how the experience was in a comment down below. Did you know that you could have received chiropractic treatment on an airplane? You might have experienced the service, especially if you've experienced the modern-day flight experience. Most airplanes back in the 1950s had chiropractors aboard. During this time, commercial airplanes were not capable of flying very high because they did not use jet engines. Instead, these passenger planes were powered by pistons, the same mechanism that powers gasoline engines. However, due to the engines not being powerful enough at the time and having difficulty moving smoothly, turbulence became a real problem, and passengers would often experience severe back pain from bracing against all the shaking. Back in the 1950s, in addition to seats that could fully recline, many airlines had sleeping cabins directly above the seats, most notably in the Boeing Clipper. This was when the average speed of an airliner was 130 to 180 miles per hour, much slower by modern standards, as well as lax seatbelt regulations. Here comes the most intriguing part. Instead of stowing extra luggage in the overhead compartments, people climbed into them and closed the private curtains, which were already installed in these compartments. However, Other amenities for sleepers, such as the mattresses, were extremely thin and uncomfortable, along with the complimentary pillows and blankets. These sleeper cabins were slowly phased out in the 1970s, replaced by more standardized seating arrangements favoring seating capacity over comfort. How many of these features were you already familiar with? Do they evoke beautiful memories? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this video. Show your support by giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you never miss another exciting video from us.